Now, one more from Bannon.
Republican establishment is trying to nullify the 2016 election. That's a brutal fact we have to face.
The Republican establishment.
The Republican establishment
wants to nullify the 2016 election.
Trying to nullify the 2016 election. Okay. Absolutely.
Who?
I think Mitch McConnell and to a degree Paul Ryan. They do not want Donald Trump's populist, economic, nationalist agenda to be implemented. It's very obvious. It's obvious as night follows day.
You are attacking on many fronts people who you need to help you to get things done.
They're not going to help you unless they're put on notice. They're going to be held accountable if they do not support the President of the United States. Right now, there's no accountability. They do not support the President's program. It's an open secret on Capitol Hill. Everybody in the city knows it.
And so therefore, now that you're out of the White House, you go into war with them.
Absolutely.
So I think that the way that Steve Bannon and Donald Trump handled Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan was a mistake, and I think that they blundered into it and had terrible strategy surrounding it. But you might be surprised to find out that overall, I don't disagree with his idea. On two grounds. Number one, there is such a thing as a Republican establishment, as there is a Democratic establishment, and they do not agree with their populist bases. So the Republican establishment wants tax cuts, free trade, trade deals, and free trade is a wrong way of thinking about it anyway. Most people are in favor of free trade. They want trade deals that are geared to help corporations and only corporations, in my opinion. And Steve Bannon has a slightly different take on that, but he's against some of the trade deals. So there are things that Trump ran on that the Republican establishment does not like. That is absolutely true. Did they try to co-opt the Trump presidency and get him to go in their direction? Absolutely they did. Did they largely succeed? Yes, they largely succeeded. His administration is now filled with bankers and standard Republican politicians and people that are part of the military-industrial complex. So yes, the establishment largely won. I really don't think Steve Bannon is that wrong about any of that. Now, whether they should win is a different question. I can't stand the Republican establishment. Democratic establishment is better, but not much better. I can't stand them either. The only thing that's worse than those two parts of the establishment is the populist right that I think is barbaric and in favor of racial policies that I think are horrific, and a populism that I think goes in exactly the wrong direction. But is it true that Trump was in favor of that populism during the campaign, and did he win partly because of that? Yes. Is he going in a different direction now? Yes. And if you believe as Steve Bannon does, should you go to war with the Republican establishment? Yes. So the way that they should have handled it is they should have been strategic about how they did it. So if you are going to threaten specific Republican senators, you should threaten ones that have upcoming elections. And those upcoming elections you could sway and then send a message to the rest of them. And you should be cognizant of how many votes you need in the short term while you build towards votes in the long term. You should have candidates that are ready to run against them in primaries. These are all the things that you should do that Trump did not do because he is an imbecile. So I don't know the relative intelligence of Steve Bannon, but if he told him, hey, go get the Republicans before you pass any legislation, well, then he's an idiot too. It depends on how you do that strategy. There's a smart way to do it, and there was a Trump way to do it. The Trump way to do it was go punch everybody on your own side in the face and hope that it comes out well. No, that is very poorly executed. And if you thought that the establishment was headed in the wrong direction, Donald Trump, well, you showed it in a very curious way, but by hiring wall-to-wall establishment figures that are leading you in that direction. The reality is, Donald Trump doesn't know anything in terms of ideology between the populists and the establishment. All he knows is, how do I get elected? Well, oh, these crowds want to hear me talk against trade. Me against trade, yeah, ooh, they like that. And then he gets into office and he's surrounded by these establishment figures. He's like, how do I get them to like me? Oh, I hire them and I do what they say. He only has enough brain cells to figure out who's in the room and how do I get them to like me? That's Donald Trump 101. He has no ability to strategize into the long term. That's what explains all this. Even if you agree with Steve Bannon's strategy, it was certainly not executed by Donald Trump. And it's possible that Bannon is just as dumb as Trump is, and he thought, no, man, what you do is you just go after all of them, man. You just go to war, and then you just randomly hit them, and then 6 years later, Murkowski will see what happened. No, she won't. 6 years later, Trump won't even be in office. So at this point, since Steve Bannon is out of office and no longer the chief strategist of Donald Trump, how bright or unbright he is a lot less relevant. We do know the imbecile in charge, and even if you think it's the right strategy, there's no way he executes it well. All he's ever done is bungle it, and that's what he'll continue to do because he's just not smart enough to do anything else. Help us build independent media together. Come join us, tytnetwork.com/join.